Vasudev. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naranchaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Om Jnanatimrandasya Gyananjana-shalakya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Jayapataka Swaminati Namne Namah Acharyapadaya Nitai Kripa Pradayani Gaur Katha Dham Dhaya Nagar Gram Dharni Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminati Namne Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaurvani Pracharne Nirvisesh Sunyavadi Paschat Deshtarne Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 4 Chapter 13 Text 36
Chapter 5, Mataji.
Sorry, Chapter
Mataji,
5. Yeah, yesterday you had, no?
Yes, 4, 5, 21, Mataji.
Chapter 5. Okay, 21.
21.
Yes. 21. Ushno hi apatyad dhantan kalingasya yata bala sapyamane ghari mani yo ahasad darshayan datha. Just as Baladeva knocked out the teeth of Dantavakra, the king of Kalinga, during the gambling match at the marriage ceremony of Aniruddha, Veerabhadra knocked out the teeth of both Daksha, who had shown them while cursing Lord Shiva, and Pusha, who by smiling sympathetically had also shown his teeth. So Veerabhadra was on a full rampage. Just a minute, So he went on a complete rampage in destroying the sacrifice. First of all, he made it, they broke all the pots made for the sacrifice, and they were and were equipped with various kinds of weapons. They tried to completely wreck the place. And they only destroyed the sacrificial arena, and some entered the kitchen and residential quarters, and some of them began to extinguish the sacrifice fire. Some tore down the boundary line of the sacrificial arena, and some passed urine on the arena. So then you cannot do that yajna anymore. So they completely desecrated it. And some threatened the women assembled there, and some arrested the demigods who were fleeing the Pandal. And then some of the followers arrested Bhrigumuni, Veerabhadra. And Veerabhadra, the black demon, arrested Prajapati Daksha. Then another follower called Chandesha arrested Pusha. Nandishvara arrested the demigod Bhaga. So then in the same way that Baladeva, that much power, Veerabhadra knocked out the teeth of both Daksha and Pusha because they had shown their teeth and while cursing Krishna. Here a reference is made to the marriage of Aniruddha, a grandson of Lord Krishna's. He kidnapped the daughter of Dantavakra, and thereafter he was arrested. Just as he was to be punished for the kidnapping, the soldiers from Dwaraka arrived. It's not Dantavakra, it is actually Banasur, headed by Balarama, and a fight ensued among the Kshatriyas. This sort of fight was very common, especially during marriage ceremonies when everyone was in a challenging spirit. In that challenging spirit, a fight was sure to occur. And in such fights, there was commonly killing and misfortune. After finishing such fighting, the parties would come to a compromise and everything would be settled. This Daksha Yajna was similar to such events because Kshatriyas are in the mode of passion. So naturally, they will have all these kind of fights. Now, all of them, Daksha and the demigods, Bhagha and Pusha and Brigumuni, were punished by the soldiers of Lord Shiva. But later, everything would come to a peaceful end. So, the spirit of fighting between one another was not exactly inimical because everyone was so powerful and wanted to show his strength by Vedic mantra or mystic power. All these fighting skills were very elaborately exhibited by the different parties at the Daksha Yajna. Probably also because they were doing in a mood of service. Veerabhadra was serving Lord Shiva. He was not doing it at his own behest or because he was angry. He was angry for the sake of his worshipable Lord, Lord Shiva, and to avenge that, avenge the killing of Sati. So it was a kind of a righteous war. And the worshippers of Vishnu also, they were engaged in a big sacrifice. They were trying to please Vishnu and all the devatas. So they're not totally like the mindless violence which happens in today's world. Simply fighting. We cannot compare our fighting here with the fighting among the devatas. This is worshippers of Shiva and Vishnu because they were all much more elevated. Akramyorasi dakshasya sita शित धारेण हेतिना चिन्दन् अपि तद् उद्धर्तुं नाशक्नोत् त्र्यम्बकस्तदा. Then Veerabhadra, the giant-like personality, sat on the chest of Daksha and tried to separate his head from his body with a sharp weapon, but was unsuccessful. शास्त्रेर अस्त्रान्वितैर एवं अनिर्भिन्न त्वचं हर विस्मयं परम आपन्नो दध्यौ पशुपतिश्चिरम. He tried to cut the head of Daksha with hymns as well as weapons, but still it was hard to cut even the surface of the skin of Daksha's head. Thus Veerabhadra was exceedingly bewildered because he is come from the body of Shiva, is so powerful, and he was wondering why he was not able to cut, not even skin he was able to pierce. Drishtva samgnapanam yogam pashunam sa patirmake yajamana pashu kasya kaya tena harachira. Then Veerabhadra saw the wooden device in the sacrificial arena by which the animals were to have been killed. He took the opportunity of this facility to behead Daksha. In this connection, it is to be noted that the device used for killing animals in the sacrifice was not designed to facilitate eating their flesh. The killing was specifically intended to give a new life to the sacrificial animal by the power of Vedic mantra. The animals were sacrificed to test the strength of Vedic mantras. Yajnas were performed as a test of the mantra. Even in the modern age, tests are executed on animal bodies in physiology laboratory. Similarly, whether or not the Brahmanas were uttering the Vedic hymns correctly was tested by the sacrifice in the arena. On the whole, the animals thus sacrificed were not at all the losers. Some old animals would be sacrificed, but in exchange for their old bodies, they received other new bodies. That was the test of Vedic mantras. Veerabhadra, instead of sacrificing animals with the wooden device, immediately beheaded Daksha to the astonishment of everyone. So the animals, they were old animals, and then I'm sure with the mantras, they made them a little numb, so that they don't feel the pain. And then this chopper was used to chop. And because of the recitation of mantras, immediately the soul would enter a new body and appear before them. So they knew the power of the mantra. Sadhuvadastada tesham karma tattasya pasyatham bhuta preta pishachanam anyesham tad viparyaya. Upon seeing the action of Virabhadra, the party of Lord Shiva was pleased and cried out joyfully, and all the bhutas, ghosts, and demons that had come made a tumultuous sound. On the other hand, the Brahmanas in charge of the sacrifice cried out in grief at the death of Daksha. Juhavithai chirastasmin dakshinagnav amarshita tad devayajanam dagdva pratishtad guhyakalayam. Virabhadra then took the head and with great anger threw it into the southern side of the sacrificial fire, offering it as an oblation. In this way, the followers of Lord Shiva devastated all the arrangements for sacrifice. After setting fire to the whole arena, they departed for their master's abode, Kailasa. Thus, in the Bhaktivedanta purports of the fourth canto, fifth chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Frustration of the Sacrifice of Daksha. Anyway, Virabhadra was only fulfilling the instructions of Lord Shiva, so he is not responsible. Shiva created him from his own body, and this was a fitting punishment for letting Sati burn like that. Nobody tried to stop. Imagine. Somebody could have said, nah, they could have risked their own life and said, no, Sati, or maybe they did. I don't know. Maybe the mother and the daughters and all must have asked her not to do, but she didn't listen. So, I don't know. Nobody is to be blamed. It is had to happen. Maitreya uvacha ata devagana sarve rudranikai praja parajita shulapattisha nishtrimsha gada parigha mudgarai sanchinna bhinna sarvanga sartvik sabhya bayakula swayambhuve namaskritya katsninaitam nyavedayan. All the priests and other members of the sacrificial assembly and all the demigods, having been defeated by the soldiers of Lord Shiva and injured by the weapons like tridents and swords, approached Lord Brahma with great fear. After offering him obeisances, they began to speak in detail of all the events which had taken place. So Brahma was not there. So they went to Brahmaloka. Upalabhya Puraivaitad Bhagavan Abjasambhava Narayanascha Vishvatma Nakasyadvaram Iyatu. Both Lord Brahma and Vishnu had already known that such events would occur in the sacrificial arena of Daksha, and knowing beforehand, they did not go to the sacrifice. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita 7.26, Vedaham samatithani vartmanini charjuna. The Lord says, I know everything that has happened in the past and is going to happen in the future. Lord Vishnu is omniscient, and he therefore knew what would happen at Daksha's sacrificial arena. For this reason, neither Narayana nor Lord Brahma attended the great sacrifice performed by Daksha. What kind of sacrifice and what kind of pleasure he got when Vishnu, the Supreme Lord, his Aradhya Devata, and Brahma, his father, were not there. That is the stupidity of Daksha. So much filled with this envy, just to show. Actually, that whole yajna was simply to spite Lord Shiva. Naturally, it had to have this kind of an end. When the yajna is performed with this kind of attitude and motivation, tad akarnya vibhu praha tejiyasi kritagasi kshemaya tatra sabhuyan na prayena bhubusatam. When Lord Brahma heard everything from the demigods and the members who had attended the sacrifice, he replied, you cannot be happy in executing a sacrifice if you blaspheme a great personality and thereby offend his lotus feet. You cannot have happiness in that way. Purport. Lord Brahma explained to the demigods that although Daksha wanted to enjoy the results of fruitive sacrificial activities, it is not possible to enjoy when one offends a great personality like Lord Shiva. It was good for Daksha to have died in the fight, because if he had lived, he would have committed such offenses at the lotus feet of great personalities again and again. According to Manu's law, when a person commits murder, punishment is beneficial for him, because if he is not killed, he might commit more and more murders, and therefore be entangled in his future lives for having killed so many persons. And therefore, the king's punishment of a murderer is appropriate. If those who are extremely offensive are killed by the grace of the Lord, that is good for them. In other words, Lord Brahma explained to the demigods that it was good for Daksha to have been killed. They were lamenting about his being killed, but what about his offense to Shiva? At that time, none of them raised any this thing. They were so afraid of him. Atapi yuyam krita kilbisha bhavam ye barhiso bhaga bhajam paradhu prasadayadvam parishuddha chetasa kshiprasadam pragrihitangri padmam. You have excluded Lord Shiva from taking part in the sacrificial results, and therefore you're all offenders at his lotus feet. Still, if you go without material reservations and surrender unto him and fall down at his lotus feet, he will be very pleased. Lord Shiva is called Ashutosha. Ashu means very soon, and Tosha means to become satisfied. The demigods were advised to go to Lord Shiva and beg his pardon, and because he is very easily pleased, it was certain that their purpose would be served. Lord Brahma knew the mind of Lord Shiva very well, and he was confident that the demigods who were offenders at his lotus feet could mitigate their offenses by going to him and surrendering without reservation. Ashasana jivitam advarasya lokasapala kupitena yasmin tam asudevam priyaya vihinam kshamapayadvam hridividham duruktai. Lord Brahma also advised them that Lord Shiva is so powerful that by his anger, all the planets and their chief controllers can be destroyed immediately. Also, he said that Lord Shiva was especially sorry because he had recently lost his dear wife and was also very much afflicted by the unkind words of Daksha. Under the circumstances, Lord Brahma suggested it would behoove them to go at once and beg his pardon. So all of them, they didn't offend, only Daksha offended, but they kept quiet and they took part in the sacrificial in the sacrifice where Shiva was being offended. Brahma and Vishnu did not go; they also could have stayed away. That time, why didn't they go to Brahma and say, Daksha is doing this sacrifice and it's very offensive to Shiva, what to do? They could have done that, but they didn't do that. They happily went. So they're also offenders. Hmm. And they excluded Shiva from taking part in the sacrificial results. How can they do that? That is the thing. All these by experience. Then they did it foolishly. They just followed Daksha. Naham na yagnu na cha yuyam anye ye deha bhajo munayasi cha tattvam vidhu pramanam balavirya yorva yasyatma tantrasya ka upayam viditset. Lord Brahma said that no one, not even himself, Indra, all the members assembled in the sacrificial arena, or all the sages, could know how powerful Lord Shiva is. Under the circumstances, who would dare to commit an offense at his lotus feet? After Lord Brahma advised the demigods to go to Lord Shiva and beg his pardon, it was suggested how he should be satisfied and how the matter should be placed before him. Brahma also asserted that none of the conditioned souls, including himself and all the demigods, could know how to satisfy Lord Shiva. But he said, it is known that he is very easily satisfied. So let us try to satisfy him by falling at his lotus feet. Actually, the position of the subordinate is always to surrender to the Supreme. That is the instruction of Bhagavad Gita. The Lord asks everyone to give up all kinds of concocted occupations and simply surrender unto him. That will protect the conditioned souls from all sinful reactions. Similarly, in this case, Brahma also suggested that they go and surrender unto the lotus feet of Lord Shiva, for since he is very kind and easily satisfied, this action would prove effective. So that is what the Lord, even to err is human, but to forgive is divine. We as human beings, conditioned souls, we will make mistakes. But if we surrender and take shelter, Lord is always willing to forgive. Actually, in all the prisons and all that we see, I don't know if they have any program of worship and all. Maybe they have, I don't know. Yeah, I suppose they do, but it's not powerful or strong or based on knowledge. But wherever ISKCON devotees go and preach to the prisoners, then what happens? They have a change of heart. And many of them completely give up their criminal actions, and then their sentences are also reduced or completely gone. Even the Basanti, the one, the killer of Rajiv Gandhi, she was pardoned, first of all, by his daughter. Priyanka also came and said, okay, I forgive you. And she didn't get life. I mean, okay, she had to stay for many years. She was going to be released, but politically, there was some in Tamil Nadu, there was just for sake of, whatever, to show that they're very loyal to the Rajiv Gandhi or something, they stopped. But actually, she was to be released much before. And all because she started reading Bhagavad Gita and maybe chanting also. So many of these people, they escaped death punishment because of that. And then also we know many of these murderers who, at least two of them, and 8 murders each, both of them brothers. And the Bhakti Vriksha program in the jail in Tamil Nadu, in Chennai. Then what happened? They became devotees, they took initiation, they came out of the jail, they were pardoned, they were let free. Imagine, no life term or no even hanging, and they are leading normal lives without doing any crime. They promised, because they promised to Guru Maharaj. Imagine, he's so merciful to give initiation to criminals. Only he can give such initiations to such criminal people. And so like that, Krishna is always ready to forgive if we repent and start leading a proper life. That's why it's so important. Even jail preaching is very, very important. We all the other people outside the jail only we are not able to cover, but jail also should be covered, because all such people who are heading towards, very bad future, and if they are released also, again they'll go and commit crime. But if we give them Krishna consciousness, they'll repent, they'll change, and the government will also release them, and they can lead normal lives. So Brahma is giving very good counsel as to how we should go and take shelter. That's all. Feel repentant and go with a very sincere heart. That is all it is. We all make mistakes, but if we become very repentant, humble, and beg for forgiveness, that's all. No more reactions. Imagine if you're forgiven, no reactions for that. Sa ittam adishya suran ajastutai samanvitha pitrabhisa prajeshai yayau swadishnyan nilayam puradvisha kailasam adri pravaram priyam prabhu. After this, instructing all the demigods, the pithas, and the lords of the living entities, Lord Brahma took them with him and left for the abode of Lord Shiva, known as the Kailasa hill. The abode of Lord Shiva, which is known as Kailasa, is described in the 14 verses which follow. Janmausadi tapo mantra yoga siddhair naretarai jushtam kinnara gandharvair apsarobhir vritam sadha. The abode known as Kailas is full of different herbs and vegetables, and it is sanctified by Vedic hymns and mystic yoga practices. Thus, the residents of that abode are demigods by birth and have all mystic powers. Besides them, there are other human beings who are known as Kinnaras and Gandharvas and are accompanied by their beautiful wives or known as Apsaras or angels. Nana Manimayai Shringair, Nana Dhatu Vichitraye, Nana Drumalata Gulmair, Nana Mriga Ganavritai. Kailasa is full of mountains, filled with all kinds of valuable jewels and minerals, and surrounded by all varieties of valuable trees and plants. The top of the hill is nicely decorated by various types of deer. It's very auspicious if in a forest there are deer, because that means you can do tapasya, deer skin. Nana mala prasravanair, nana kandara sanubhi, ramanam viharanti nam, ramanai siddha yoshitam. There are many waterfalls, and in the mountains there are many beautiful caves in which the very beautiful wives of the mystics are found. Mayurakeka birutam, madandhali vimurchitam, plavitai raktakantanam, Pujitaischa Patatrinam. On Kailasa Hill, there is always the rhythmical sound of the peacock's sweet vibrations and the bees humming. Cuckoos are always singing, and other birds whisper amongst themselves. Afayantam ivo dashtair, Dvijan kama dugair drumai, Rajantam iva matangair, Grinantam iva nirjarai. There are tall trees with straight branches that appear to call the sweet birds. And when herds of elephants pass through the hills, it appears that Kailasa hill moves with them. When the waterfalls resound, it appears that Kailasa hill does also. Mandare parijatascha saralaischopa tamalai shalataalaischa Povidharasanarjunai Chutai Kadambhair Nipaischa Nagapunnaga Champakai Patashloka Pata Patala Shoka Bakulei Kundai Kurabakir Api. The whole of Kailasa hill is decorated with various kinds of trees, of which the following names may be mentioned: Mandara, Parijata, Sarala, Tamala, Tala, Kovidara, Asana, Arjuna, Amrajati, that is mango, Kadamba, Duli Kadamba, Naga, Punnaga, Champaka, Patala, Ashoka, Bakula, Kunda, and Kurabaka. The entire hill is decorated with such trees which produce flowers with fragrant aromas. Swarnarnasatha patraischa vararenuka jatibi kubjakair mallika bescha madhavi bhasta chamanditam. There are other trees also which decorate the hill, such as the golden lotus flower, the cinnamon tree, malati, kubja, mallika, and madhavi. So kubja is a flower's name. Panasodhumbara Laksha Nyagrodahingubi Burjair Asadbi Pugai Rajapugaischa Jambubi. Kailasa hill is also decorated with such trees as kata, jackfruit, julara, banyan trees, plakshas, nyagrodas, and trees producing asafoetida. Also, there are trees of betel nuts and burjapatra, as well as rajapuga, blackberries, and similar other trees. Karjuramrita kamradyai priyala madukengudai drumajatibir anyaischa rajitam venuki chakai. There are mango trees, Priyala, Maduka, and Inguda. Besides this, there are other trees like thin bamboos, Kichaka, and varieties of other bamboo trees, all decorating the tract of Kailasa hill. So among the names, only this mango and jackfruit are the same. Oh, you don't know what the other fruits are. Priyala, Maduka, Inguda, and all that. And what's the name of the mango? Amra. Same name. Kumudotpalaka. Because in the translation, for all these trees, Priyalas, Madukas, Ingudas, Drumajatibi, they've just written with varieties of trees and they don't know what it means. Kumudotpalakahlara, Shatapatra, Vanardibi, Nalinishu, Kalam Kujat, Kaga Vrindopashobitam, Mrigai Sakamgrai Krodhair, Mrigendrai Riksha Shalakai, Gavayai Sharabhir, Vyagrai Rurubir Mahishadibhi. There are different kinds of lotus flowers such as Kumuda, Utpala, and Shatapatra. The forest appears to be decorated garden, and the small lakes are full of various kinds of birds who whisper very sweetly. There are many kinds of other animals also, like deer, monkeys, boars, lions, rickshaws, shalyakas, forest cows, forest asses, tigers, small deer, buffalo, and many other animals who are fully enjoying their lives. Karnantraika padhasvasyair nirjushtam vrikanabibi kadali kanda samruddha nalini pulinashriyam. There are varieties of deer such as Karnantra, Ekapadha, Ashwasya, Vrika, and Kasturi, the deer which bears musk. Besides the deer, there are many banana trees which decorate the small hillside lakes very nicely. So we can see the three main important fruits are jackfruit, mango, banana. These are the Indian fruits and they're all there in Kailash. Paryastam nandaya satya snana punyatarodhaya vilokya bhutesha girim vibudha vismayam yayu. There is a small lake named Alakananda in which Sati used to take her bath. And that lake is especially auspicious. All the demigods, after seeing the specific beauty of Kailasa hill, were struck with wonder at the great opulence to be found there. According to the commentary called Sri Bhagavata Chandra Chandrika, the water in which Sati used to bathe was Ganges water. In other words, the Ganges flowed through the Kailasa Parvata. There is every possibility of accepting such a statement because Ganges water also flows from the hair of Lord Shiva. Since Ganges water rests on the head of Lord Shiva and then flows to the other parts of the universe, it's quite possible that the water in which Sati bathed, which was certainly very nicely scented, was Ganges water. And Ganges is also called Alakananda in the beginning, the source. So that's what, so it is coming from Lord Shiva's hair. And it is a lake over there in Kailas. Dadrashostatra ramyam alakam nama vaipurim vanam saugandikam chapi yatratan nama pankajam. Thus the demigod saw the wonderfully beautiful regions known as Alaka in the forest known as Saugandika, which means full of fragrance. The forest is known as Saugandika because of its abundance of lotus flowers. Sometimes Alaka is known as Alakapuri, which is also the name of the abode of Kuvera. Kuvera's abode, however, cannot be seen from Kailasa. Therefore, the region of Alaka referred to here is different from the Alakapuri of Kuvera. According to Veeraraghava Acharya, Alaka means uncommonly beautiful. In the region of Alaka, the demigods saw there is a type of lotus flower known as Saugandhika that distributes an especially fragrant scent. Nanda Chalaka Nanda Cha Sarito Bahyata Pura Tirthapada Padambhoja Rajas Rajasi Rajasativa Pavane. They also saw two rivers named Nanda and Alakananda. These two rivers are sanctified by the dust of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda. That is must be the Alakananda, which is the origin of the Ganga. Yayo Surastriya Kshattar Avaruhya Swadishniyata Kridanti Pumsa Sinchantyo Vigahya Ratikarshita. My dear Kshatta, Vidura, the celestial damsels come down to those rivers in their airplanes with their husbands, and after sexual enjoyment, they enter the water and enjoy sprinkling their husbands with water. Purport. It's understood that even the damsels of the heavenly planets are polluted by thoughts of sex enjoyment, and therefore they come in airplanes to bathe in the rivers, Nanda and Alakananda. It is significant that these rivers, Nanda and Alakananda, are sanctified by the dust of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In other words, just as the Ganges is sacred because its water emanates from the toes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana, so whenever water or anything is in touch with devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it is purified and spiritualized. The rules and regulations of devotional service are based on this principle. Anything in touch with the lotus feet of the Lord is immediately freed from all material contamination. The damsels of the heavenly planets, polluted by thoughts of sex life, come down to bathe in the sanctified rivers and enjoy sprinkling water on their husbands. Two others are very significant in this connection. Ratikarshita means the damsels become morose after sex enjoyment. Although they accept sex enjoyment as a bodily demand, afterwards they are not happy. Another significant point is that Lord Govinda, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is described here as Tirthapada. Tirtha means sanctified place, and Pada means the lotus feet of the Lord. People go to a sanctified place to free themselves from all sinful reactions. In other words, those who are devoted to the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, automatically become sanctified. The Lord's lotus feet are called Tirthapad because under their protection, there are hundreds and thousands of saintly persons who sanctify the sacred places of pilgrimage. Srila Narottam Das Thakura, a great Acharya of the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, advises us not to travel to different places of pilgrimage. Undoubtedly, it is troublesome to go from one place to another, but one who is intelligent can take shelter of the lotus feet of Govinda and thereby be automatically sanctified as a result of his pilgrimage. Anyone who's fixed in the service of the lotus feet of Govinda is called Tirthapad. He does not need to travel on various pilgrimages, for he can enjoy all the benefits of such travel simply by engaging in the service of the lotus feet of the Lord. Such a pure devotee who has implicit faith in the lotus feet of the Lord can create sacred places in any part of the world where he decides to remain. Tirti kurvanti tirthani. Bhagavatam 1.10. That is what Yudhishthir Maharaj calls Vidura, Tirti Kurvanti Tirtani. You yourself are a Tirtha, that wherever you go, that place becomes a Tirtha Kshetra. The places are sanctified due to the presence of pure devotees. Any place automatically becomes a place of pilgrimage if either the Lord or his pure devotee remains or resides there. In other words, such a pure devotee who's engaged 100% in the service of the Lord can remain anywhere in the universe And that part of the universe immediately becomes a sacred place where he can peacefully render service to the Lord as the Lord desires. So this Prabhupada always brings out the best. Completely, he talks about pure devotional service. Here, the verse talks about, my dear Kshatta Vidura, the celestial damsels come to those rivers in their airplanes with their husbands, and after sexual enjoyment, they enter the water and enjoy sprinkling their husbands with water. And Prabhupada has gone deep into their activity. He's saying that how these damsels are still polluted with sexual desires, and when they come there, then they're feeling morose, and so they are sprinkling because it's a holy water. So they're, they are sprinkling to get purified, come down to bathe in the sanctified waters. Means that, Ratikarshita means, what is Ratikarshita? Kridanti, they play the Sinchantaya, sprinkling with water, Vika here, Ratikarshita, whose enjoyment has become diminished. So that is why Prabhupada is saying that they're feeling morose. And afterwards, they are not happy after this thing. So Govinda, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is described here as Tirtha Pada. Tirtha means sanctified place, and Pada means the lotus feet of the Lord. Because these two rivers are sanctified by the dust of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda. So anywhere where the dust of the lotus feet, or wherever there is service to the Lord. And why do people go to a sanctified place? To free themselves from all sinful reactions. But he is saying that if you sit in one place and serve Krishna, that place only will become, we will become sanctified. They automatically become those who are devoted to the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord automatically become sanctified. So it is this constant going here and there on Tirtha Yatras. That is for people who are not so surrendered yet, and they are getting purified by going here and there, wandering. But it's not required. You stay in a place, you do devotional service, you worship Him nicely, then that is sanctified. That is what we are meant to do. We take bath in those rivers only so that we can get purified and think about Krishna and serve Him. So that is why chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra, there is a comparison made. I don't know who said it in the Bhagavatam. When they were glorifying the holy name, they said that, see, the river, Ganga river, you have to keep on bathing for some time, then only you will get purified. But holy name, just once uttering offenselessly the name, very quickly, holy name can purify us. So that is why it is important that we chant very nicely. We give more importance to this. We should also go on Tirtha Yatras, but not like some people, those who don't have proper service. Those who don't have proper service, then what they do, this is their main service. I mean, this is their main activity. Every 2 months, they'll go somewhere, Vrindavan, Mayapur, Dwaraka, somewhere or the other, they'll be traveling. But when you see what service they are doing, nothing. So that, okay, by going there, at least they're purifying themselves. But he's saying one who's intelligent can take shelter of the lotus feet of Govinda and thereby be automatically sanctified as the result of his pilgrimage. Somebody goes all the way to Badrikashram, 1 month traveling all the 4 dhams with great risk also. In rainy season, they go in the copter or this and that. And always, we don't know. It's quite this thing. And then here you sit and just do your devotional service, chant and do some seva, preaching. Same result. Automatically sanctified as the result of anyone who's fixed in the service of the lotus feet of Govinda is called Tirthapada. He does not need to travel on various pilgrimages, for he can enjoy all the benefits of such travel simply by engaging in the service of the lotus feet of the Lord. Such a pure devotee who has implicit faith in the lotus feet of the Lord can create sacred places in any part of the world where he decides to remain. Tirthi kurvanti tirthani, Bhagavatam 1.13.10. That's what Yudhishthira called Vidura. The places are sanctified due to the presence of pure devotees. Any place automatically becomes a place of pilgrimage if either the Lord or his pure devotee remains or resides there. In other words, such a pure devotee who is engaged 100% in the service of the Lord can remain anywhere in the universe, and that part of the universe immediately becomes a sacred place where he can peacefully render service to the Lord as the Lord desires. So that is the most important thing, to become a servant of Krishna. And that's why just chanting Hare Krishna mantra very, very, very sincerely, every day, one layer has to be peeled out. Okay, there's at least one. No, many layers can also be peeled out, but at least one. They should be happy, just like steps, taking steps to reach Krishna. Also, this, because our mind is covering the soul. And we got so many impressions which is pulling us away from devotional service, making us, let us enjoy that, let us go here, there, wandering, restless mind. And if we chant, take shelter of Krishna and say, I want to serve you, please. I have no taste to serve you. I want to serve my senses and mind instead. My mind is just making me go here and there and become a victim of my sense gratification. So please help me to serve you. This is all we need to beg the Lord. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, please engage me in your service. And then every day, one layer will get peeled out, minimum. Then slowly and slowly, gradually, all these misconceptions will go away. And we can see, Array, I'm not any of this. I am soul. I'm servant, part and parcel of Krishna. I'm a servant of Krishna. And that is what will give us greatest ecstasy and also happiness, peace of mind. But we think we don't have faith in this. Most people, what happens? Oh, who can do all this? I'll go off. It's easier. No, just book your tickets, go to a Tirtha Stan, and then go bathe there and just see the temple and go around. It's nice. It's not wrong. But what Prabhupada said was, after doing all these things of purification, visiting all pilgrim spots, bathing in all the rivers, doing all kinds of sacrifices, charity works, finally you'll achieve the ability to chant Krishna's name. That is the topmost perfection. And somehow we are not that we are qualified. We did lot of yajnas, meditation. We went to all tirthasthans. So we are very nobly chanting Hare Krishna mantra. No, not required. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy, even without doing all that, by the pure devotee's mercy, we are able to chant Hare Krishna mantra. So why we should waste our time? We should go. Of course, we are not pure devotees yet, but we can go, but not constantly going. That is not the devotional service. Simply book your tickets and rush here, there. There are some people who don't have proper service. They might not even be chanting very nicely, but they like to go to all dhams. So here Prabhupada is discouraging, and not only that, Krishna in Vrindavan, and whenever his father, mother, or any of the devotees, they want to go, let's go. They'll be very thinking, let's pack our bags and go on a Tirtha Yatra to Ganga, because they have only Yamuna there. They want to go there. Then Krishna creates Mansi Ganga there. Here, Ganga is here only. She's flowing right in front of your house. Why you want to go there? So Krishna is also, everything. If you have Krishna, you have everything else. So that is the highest realization. Vasudevam Sarvam Iti Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. So we should concentrate fully on only this aspect, that when can I become humble servant of Krishna, they're dedicating everything that I do only for his pleasure and satisfaction. That comes when we keep on peeling off all these layers of our mind, which is telling us something else. Oh, life is for enjoyment. I'm this, I'm that, I'm so many things, and I want to. So when we, from that, the total misconception, layer after layer after layer, and it goes away. Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya also, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, what is that? Bhagavati Uttama Shloke, Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. So we are filled with bhakti towards the Supreme Lord. And that is the perfection of our life, the one which will give us greatest happiness. Whatever we do in the mode of service for Krishna, everything. That is the only secret, he's saying. In other words, any place automatically becomes a place of pilgrimage if either the Lord or his pure devotee remains or resides there. So if we engage in preaching, we call people and give them Krishna consciousness. That is part of our sadhana. Normally we think sadhana means only chanting, making prasadam, and then doing one arati and reading books. That's all. I'm doing sadhana. That is bare minimum. Okay, Tulasi worship. Okay. Beyond that, there is a big sadhana, which is what mainly Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given everyone, and that is preaching. Jivdaya, Vaishnav Seva, Jivdaya, Namaruchi, Vaishnav Seva, Jivdaya. All three are part of our sadhana. No, we forget about Vaishnav Seva and Jivdaya. Only Nama. Okay, Hari Nam we are chanting. But these two we forget. That is also part of our sadhana. Otherwise, we won't make progress. Sadhana is to advance, and that is why Vaishnav Seva also. How can I serve? I should be looking forward and always being respectful to all Vaishnavas, and in our heart, not have the mind might come up with so many things. See, this devotee, how he's behaving. He did like that day to me in this day. So many things mind might come up with. And just, I don't care for all that. In my heart, I want Krishna. So I'm not going to be bothered about all those other things. I simply serve all Vaishnavas to satisfy Krishna. Everything is for satisfying Krishna. Even Vaishnav Seva is to satisfy Krishna. If you're just satisfying Vaishnavas so that the Vaishnava will be nice to me, that is not, I will get disappointed. Sometimes Vaishnava may not even look at you. Then what? Then you'll stop serving them? No. Whatever the Vaishnava does, even if he kicks my head with his lotus feet, no problem. I serve that Vaishnava to please Krishna. That is all. And that is real, more in the mode of goodness, with no expectations. Simply, I did this for pleasing Krishna. And also, this thing, preaching, that should be the sustenance. That is the actual thing. After chanting, if you preach, then even our offensive chanting will get purified very fast. Guru Maharaj said, if you preach, then all the offenses will get burnt very fast. Your sins also will burn very fast. So that is the main activity. And somebody who's engrossed in preaching will never give it up and will want, that is the only thing they want. They're ready. Wherever they go, they'll only preach. So Bhakti Vriksha is that kind of a thing which creates that kind of craving for preaching. And it purifies our consciousness from one of enjoyment to one of service. Everything becomes centered around it. The whole families, we know, husband and wives who are preaching, they're leading very ideal lives. And everybody's surprised how they can be like this. They have small children. And children also, they're taking care and all that. Children also are God conscious. And the mood of service is what? A lot of love can be experienced, and we can lead ideal Grihastha lives simply by together preaching. What a wonderful thing it is. right? It's like we want Lakshmi Narayana, right? Then it's very nice. So Lakshmi Devi is also there. Then there will be all nice things, oh, all blessings, care, compassion, kindness, forgiveness, love, everything is complete. The Lord with Lakshmi is very, very complete. And similarly, if husbands and wives together preach, everybody feels very nice because they can get both the masculine and feminine, this thing, they complement. And so for others also it's very nice, all both Matajis, Prabhus, everyone together can be preached. There's no problem. There's no this, I mean, because if you have to preach to a lady, a man, he has got his limitations, he should not go too close. Or if a woman also wants to preach, she cannot be too close to men. But then if they're together, they can preach to everyone, and children also. So it's such a wonderful unit of preaching. This is the great revolution started by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he gave Grihasthas the mandate. He went to all Grihasthas' homes and he preached. Yare dekha tare kaha Krishna Upadesh. Go preach, bring everyone to your house and preach. He's given Grihasthas. And Prabhupada, he was his first this thing who empowered Grihasthas to preach. They started so many centers and he was very proud. See, my Grihastha devotees, they are doing all this. So that's the amazing thing. So if we want to make progress, we should rather concentrate on doing, staying in our place and cultivating people, giving them Krishna consciousness. Then we can't even imagine how much we are advancing. You won't realize because externally it seems simple, but internally, definitely it'll remove all our offenses, our chanting will improve, our sins will be destroyed so that we get a taste for devotional service and to go back to Godhead in this life. Otherwise, we'll think, no problem. Next life also, if I'm a devotee, it's okay. We might think like that. Some people may think, yeah, it's quite nice. I will serve. I'll come here like all the great acharyas. I'll come to serve. But really speaking, why I want to come is I want this life, this also, that also. I want some sense gratification also. So it's okay. But a Bhakti Vriksha preacher who's really involved in that makes leaps and bounds progress. And so that is why, and that is the future of preaching in this world. Only through that, it's going to spread like anything. And Prabhupada has already given predictions. Guru Maharaj has also said that how it's going to spread. It is only, and Bhakti Vinod Thakur, he said, in the future, only Namhattas will create devotees. So the temples are also required because they are it's like a super mall, a mall where you get so many things, like a supermarket where it's affordable also, everything. You go to a supermarket, you get everything. But the supermarket is far away and, once in a way only you can go. You don't get a quick shopping there and it's a little, you have to pay more. But if you have so many are small shops near the homes, they are the ones. And then you give the example, small shops and then smaller markets and then bigger markets, hypermarket, supermarket. Like this, we have so many different levels, and that is how it's going to spread. So we have a big mandate to do that. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we have to focus. That's part of our sadhana. Then you see we can change because Kali is very, very strong now and is using all demonic forces to stop this. Don't think it's imaginary, it's actually happening. These demons are all really live and they take the forms or they enter different people and they are putting obstacles on the path of devotees, preachers. It's happening, it's true. And that's why we have to become very strong and determined and take shelter of Guru and Gauranga. We are going to fight back. We have to fight back. Okay. Thank you very much, Hare Krishna. Any questions or comments?
नहीं है माता जी, अभी नहीं है इसको बोला। हरे कृष्णा माता जी, दंडवत प्रणाम।
दंडवत
हरे
प्रणाम।
कृष्णा माता जी।
हरे
अभी तो
कृष्णा।
कोई क्वेश्चन टाइम पे, सही टाइम पे नहीं आया इसके लिए।
हाँ, टाइम हो गया।
सही टाइम पे नहीं आया मैं। अभी अभी आ रहा हूँ।
अच्छा, आप अभी आ रहे हैं? ओ, किधर थे? अच्छा,
नहीं माता जी,
प्रचार।
एक्चुअली नहीं नहीं,
हाँ,
अभी वो चल रहा था। वो अभिषेकम चल रहा था, इसकी वजह से।
क्या?
अभिषेकम चल रहा था, अभिषेकम। कल करते हैं माता जी, बताते हैं।
अच्छा, ठीक है। Okay, we go for prayers then. We pray for our Guru Maharaj's good health, for his longevity, protection from all diseases, and speedy recovery from all illnesses. And also Guru Maharaj's servants' good health. Let us chant 3 times Hare Krishna for that. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna
कृष्णा
Krishna,
कृष्णा हरे हरे, हरे
Hare
राम
Rama, Hare
राम
Rama,
राम
Rama Rama,
हरे
Hare
हरे,
Hare.
हरे
Hare
Rama,
Krishna,
Hare Rama,
Hare
Rama Rama, Hare
Krishna,
Hare,
Krishna
Hare Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Hare.
Hare Hare,
Hare
हरे
Rama,
राम
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Rama Rama,
Hare
Hare Hare,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna, Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
हरे
Krishna
Krishna
Hare Hare,
Krishna,
Hare Rama,
Hare
Hare
Hare.
Hare,
Hare
हरे
Rama, Hare
हरे
Rama, Rama
Hare
Rama,
Rama, Rama
Hare
Rama,
Hare.
Hare Hare.
Then we pray for all Prabhupada's disciples' good health,